Whenever I bring up stories like this, the response I get from some people is that, who is this guy and why does he even matter anyway? Oh, it's nonsense. It's irrelevant. This is a tweet from Stevie Van Zandt. He said, outrageous doesn't begin to describe the actions of these Republican white supremacist scumbag cowards, and I won't read the next word, insult, that need guns to feel like real men. Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X will unite and exterminate these cockroaches once and for all. Now, this dude here ultimately deleted this tweet and then later claimed that it was symbolism. In this tweet from Cat Turd, who says this tweet and claims to be a peace-loving hippie, Stevie Van Zandt said, in this case, the phrase was used as symbolism. I know you pathetic maggots don't have the intelligence to recognize that, but that's your problem. Don't project your mindless violence fantasies on this peace-loving hippie. Exterminate at the ballot box was clearly what was meant. This guy's got 341,000 followers. He's been in a bunch of famous music groups, or he's played guitar for famous music groups. I think like Bruce Springsteen, I'm not sure. I guess he was on The Sopranos. This is a prominent, influential individual calling for the extermination of Republicans. Why? Because they're pro-gun. That's it, I guess. Because they are pro-gun. Okay, you know where I'm going with this. The disruptions, the level of violence, and the hyper-tribalism, the polarization, is reaching critical mass. I don't know if that means that this guy's actually going to go out with weapons, but you need to start looking at the history of countries where this kind of thing has happened. Civil wars, tribal revolutions, tribal violence, etc. You start to see exactly this. In corporate press, in mainstream discourse, one member of one tribe will call out the other as an insect, as a maggot, and call for their extermination. In fact, there's a viral tweet from a while ago, a viral meme, talking about the steps towards genocide. And a lot of people felt like a lot of the criteria of this had actually already been accomplished. And one of them was referring to your opponents as insects or vermin that, and additionally, that need to be gotten rid of. Well, this is where we're heading. And I think the problem is weak men make hard times. We have this story from Timcast.com. Downtown Portland cafe closing due to being on the front line of extreme violence and criminal activity in the city. I saw a viral video. Apparently there's a potential indictment or something for a cop who, killed a guy, and everybody's boarding up their windows. Now, why would they do that? Because deep down in their heart of hearts, people in this country know that the far left terrorists will attack them are violent. And the reason why they continue to gain and amass power and have influence is because regular people are unwilling to challenge this. And thus we get stories like this. Now, before we read this story, my friends, just go to timcast.com, click that little hamburger and join us. Become a member to support our work. Get access to the Discord community where we are connecting like-minded individuals so that we can actually create culture and push back and win this culture war. Now, as I often say, the night is always darkest before the dawn, and I think things in cities are going to get a whole lot worse. So while I use the example of this Stevie Van Zandt guy to show you just how much these people hate you, how extreme they are, and where this country is headed, let's take a look at the policy ramifications for what Democrats are doing. Now, of course, I could just read this story to you, and I will, so you can understand how bad Portland is doing. But first, how about I just show you this video? Asian Dawn tweets WTF. Well, take a look. It's just I'll describe it for those that are listening. There's a man. He's wearing Adidas track pants, and he's just literally filling a garbage bag with shoes. And then he just walks out. He's not wearing a mask. He's not hiding his identity. He's literally just filling a garbage bag as everyone watches. And that's it. That's what you get. Now, this is called anarcho-tyranny. This is when criminals are allowed to do whatever they want. They're effectively protected. And if you do anything to stop them, you will be going to prison. Take a look at Daniel Perry. Let's talk about the story of Daniel Perry in Austin, Texas, who was driving Uber drove towards a protest. They then surrounded his car. A man approached with a rifle employed, meaning, as Jim Hansen pointed out, he had it at either low or high ready. It was raised up. He was ready to use that weapon. Why? I have no idea. And so the driver opened fire on him through the window. And now they've convicted this man of murder because he had made comments online where he basically said that if he's attacked, he may have to end some lives to defend himself. I'm paraphrasing, but the left has omitted a lot of the context of what he said. Now I look at this. You have Provo, Utah, where a driver is shot. You have people killed. You have that guy, Aaron Danielson. All of these things are happening. Is it reasonable for a person to fear far left extremists approaching them armed with weapons? Of course. There was, I think it was in Portland, it may have been Seattle, where armed far left extremists pointed a rifle at a truck and blocked the intersection. This guy gets out and pulls out his gun. We're headed to dark places. Let's take a look at what's happening on the ground in Portland to learn exactly about what these policies lead to. A cafe in downtown Portland is closing its doors due to extreme violence and criminal activity in the city. Kawava Coffee Roasters has resorted to giving employees de-escalation training and hazard pay in recent years because of how unsafe the city has become. And it's become unsafe because of far-left terrorism. Now, I will say it outright. I'm looking at these tweets about drag queens and police officers, and I'm like, I don't care about you, the leftists. When they tweet these things, I don't care about you. I don't care about your weird, ill-conceived world. At this point, I do not see a path toward reconciliation, reconciling our differences. These people who want children to receive sex changes are so far outside the Overton window. There's two. Period. The right has their own now. You can drift outside the right's version of the Overton window, and then there's the left. They have their own. That's it. That's two different rooms. I don't care about Portland. What I do care about is if these Portlandians are going to flee and then go to red areas and rural areas and bring their problems with them. So I'm driving around in Austin because we're down in Austin for the show, and I see a sticker on there's a highway barrier. It says, "Don't California my Texas." Yeah. Well, the culture war is very pronounced here. In Texas, in Austin, they call Austin the California of Texas. And in the big cities, it's woke. But the state itself is shifting red as more conservative-leaning people and libertarians flee their apocalyptic blue states for here. Which means we are going to get to sit back and watch Portland decay into rubble and ash. And I don't care at all. We had Dr. Peter Boghossian, we just call him Peter Boghossian, on Timcast IRL. In the members only show, he asked me, what if Russia invades Estonia? And I said, I don't care. He's like, you don't care? And I'm like, why should I care about Estonia? Look, I like Estonia. Tallinn sounds like it's a whole lot of fun. They got a funny little language there with some, there's, I can't say it on YouTube, but the way their words sound are, anyway, you can look it up. But I don't want Estonia to be crushed or conquered, but I also don't live there. I am not required to defend them. Sure, they're a NATO nation, but I don't even care about what NATO is doing because NATO's doing a whole bunch of awful things. My point is this. I look at Portland and I'm like, I don't care about you anymore. I do not view us as part of the same culture or community any longer. And I think people on the right for too long still perceive these people as being Americans. I don't view them as Americans. They're acting outside the confines of our culture and society. You've got these people passing laws where they fill up garbage bags and leave, and if you lay one hand on that man, you'll go to jail. In New York, they're releasing inmates from jail, convicted. I think they're releasing felons. But let's just say, maybe I'm wrong about that. They were releasing convicts of any caliber and then threatening to arrest people who wanted to open a church or run their business. The police surrounded a bar because they decided to give beer away for free as a private establishment. Didn't matter. In Texas, they arrested a salon owner. So I am done pretending like there is a cohesive American culture. There are psychopaths burning down what made America great, and there are those who oppose it. Here's the story. In a post on Instagram, the coffee company wrote, "We have decided to permanently close our downtown Portland cafe, with the last full day of operation being this Thursday, April 13th. The company explained that the staff of the location have been on the front lines during extreme violence and criminal activity on an almost daily basis for the last few years. Crime and violence that is only increasing in frequency and severity, from theft to physical displays of violence, threats of harm, break-ins, window smashing, and repeated traumatic in-cafe incidents where both staff and patrons feel unsafe." Kawava explained that they have gone to great lengths to keep the cafe open, even as they watched neighboring businesses close one by one. "We have brought all the resources to bear that we have access to, doubling up on shifts, locking one entrance, de-escalation training, hazard pay, and heightened management oversight. This has proven to not be a temporary situation, and it is not a situation we can manage. Most importantly, it is not a situation where we can thrive. We cannot continue operation here as we cannot ensure the safety of our team and customers. Our neighboring businesses have seen it too, and we've watched them close one by one over the last few years. Sadly, we now join them. I am going to go out after I finish my morning show. We're going to go get some barbecue. I'm going to buy it for everybody, and we are going to celebrate." I'm going to celebrate watching these businesses fail, because these people in these cities keep voting for the same thing. They fly the flags, they fly the banners. And you might say to me, "Tim, don't blame the small business owner in Portland. Many of them probably oppose this." Yes, you are correct. And so they shut down. But I'll tell you my point. When I go to Berkeley, what do I see? They put up signs in their windows saying, "Please don't hurt us. We support you. We agree with you." These businesses are a component of a fractured machine, and they do nothing to stop it. Some do, don't get me wrong. I don't know about specifically this Kawava business, but in terms of downtown Portland is collapsing, here. The bankrupt corruption of the left cult is apparent for everyone to see, and you deserve it. You know why you deserve it? Because you vote for it. If you vote for lower taxes and then they lower taxes, you deserve it because you voted for it. If you vote for crime and this far left ridiculous, let's just say ideological cult or just, algorithmic cult. If you vote for politicians in the same political party who keep doing this, it makes me feel good when you say, "Oh, no, now our business is going under." I'll explain. It's not necessarily schadenfreude. It's almost a kind of like, "I told you so," and there is a satisfaction in being correct. Now, I don't want people to suffer. I don't want this business to go under. None of that. But I am just so sick of these people doing absolutely nothing to save their own city, to save their own culture. And I guarantee you these people would no sooner host a drag queen sex show for children as in line with their existing cafe if they remained open. So when downtown Portland crumbles, all I can say is good riddance. Let Portland be washed clean. And when the economic crisis flattens that city, it'll become like Detroit. And then I'll tell you where the real opportunity may arise. Those of merit and mean who fled this city and who now are seeking an opportunity zone may return to Portland and say crime is high, but the buildings are very cheap. And so then they'll start their businesses. It won't be like a cafe. It won't be a grocery store. It'll be more like an office building with barred windows. But a small business may say, we are not open to the public, and we can buy this building for cheap, and that will begin the process of renewal. That's how it must be. Kawava thanked the staff for their bravery and work ethic navigating the daily challenges of working in this part of downtown Portland. In response to the announcement, many pointed out the business and people of Portland are getting what they voted for, as the city is exceptionally liberal in lead and crime. Others expressed their disappointment to see the business go and hopes the city will do something to tackle crime while remaining compassionate. Spare me. This is devastating news, and I'm sorry for the circumstances that led to this. We have to figure out a way to be compassionate and limit crime's impact on our quality of life. Nah, just keep doing it. I don't care. I'm so sorry the city has abandoned downtown businesses and is not doing its job to keep the city safe. But props to you for putting your employees' safety first. Maybe someday we will see downtown thriving again, Laura Bethrist wrote. A customer named Mark Hefner wrote, "This is the tragic price all of us law-abiding citizens get to pay when elected officials allow and promote anarchy to reign in the name of freedom and individual rights. I am saddened and sickened by the news of Kawava's closing, my favorite Java spot in the city. More plywood on storefronts of our once vibrant downtown has that for progress." I got to push back. These people aren't approaching freedom and individual rights. They're authoritarian collectivists, and they are enacting anarcho-tyranny. Anarcho-tyranny is meant to be oxymoronic or paradoxical. It's a reference to the fact that it's not actually anarchy. It's tyranny. That's why tyranny is the second part of the word. It is that they will let criminals and crime run rampant to destroy things, and then, if you try to stop them, they will crush you under their boot. Uh-oh. Walmart shuts down 4 stores in Chicago, halving, if I say halving, people might understand it's cutting in half its footprint in crime-ridden Democrat-led city because they lose tens of millions of dollars a year and losses are now doubling. Oh, yes, please show me more. Because we can all sit back, crack a nice, what's a good beer we can shut it? Old style? What beer are we drinking these days? And put our feet up, pull out a cigar and say, "I told you so." But you know what? I'm really excited for this because Chicago just elected a far-left mayor, so if you think it ends here, think again. It's only going to get worse, and you know what? So be it. There's a reason why I left Chicago. There's a reason why I left New York, a reason why I left South Jersey, and am now in the West Virginia tri-state area. Of course, that's Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, and why we're setting up our new HQ in West Virginia. West Virginia has crime and violence. Sure does. And the left loves to point out that per capita, it's higher. So they say, I don't have any of those sources pulled up, but I don't care. You know why? The issue with Chicago, the issue with Portland and California, basically all of California, except for parts of the north, I can respect that. The police can't or won't do anything, and you're also not allowed to defend yourself. So here's what I can say about West Virginia. Several months ago, I think it was like half a year ago now, at one of our properties, I got to keep this vague, some men broke in. And within a moment's notice, a bullet flew across the room and lodged itself in the kitchen island in our drawers. I took a picture of it, posted it. The men jumped out the window. We believe they injured themselves pretty poorly, jumped in the car and sped off. Uh-oh. You see what happens when you come to West Virginia? We don't wait for the cops to show up to help us. We have constitutional carry and a right to defend ourselves in our homes. Good luck in Chicago if you're in a business and a criminal comes in. Walmart is incapable. There is nothing they can do to stop this, except just shut it down. And boy, do you love to see it. Now, I think it's important to say, I don't know if there's actually Walmarts in Chicago. They say it's in Chicago, but I think do they have, I thought Chicago didn't have Walmarts. They're like in the outlying areas or whatever, but maybe I'm wrong. The 4 stores closing their doors have not been profitable for several years, even after efforts to turn them around, according to a statement released on their website. The simplest explanation is that collectively our Chicago stores have not been profitable since we first opened them 17 years ago. These stores lose tens of millions of dollars a year, and their annual losses nearly doubled in the last 5 years. At least 11 other stores have closed across the country so far, from Hawaii to Washington, D.C. The closings were announced just days after Chicago's newly elected liberal mayor, Brandon Johnson, blamed the city's poverty and crime rates on businesses that don't pay taxes. Oh, you love to see it. Bring it on more. I don't live there. I don't care. You can have whatever you want, Chicago. It's all yours. Me, I'm in West Virginia. And out here in the mountains, it's a whole bunch of right-wing nut jobs. And that's a term of endearment, of course. These are people who mind their own business, aren't easily bothered, and will protect themselves. I love hearing these stories where they'll be like these liberals come in, they flee D.C., and then they complain about animals or hearing gunshots. I heard a gunshot last night. What do I do? Did you flee D.C. because you heard gunshots? I'll tell you this. I walk outside my house and I hear gunshots to the extent that it sounds like fully automatic rifle fire, when in fact it's just multiple people shooting off all at once. And you know what I do? I sip my coffee, look around and go, good fresh air. And I go back to work and I don't think about it. You know why? When you're out in the middle of nowhere, when you're out in West Virginia, when you hear a gunshot, somebody's hunting, it's target practice, or they're just having fun. Yeah, when you hear a gunshot in a city, it's probably because someone is dying and they don't care if it's you or anyone else. So naturally, when you live in a city and you hear a gunshot, you get worried. When you live out in the middle of nowhere, you hear a gunshot, you're like, yeah, neighbors are shooting again. Just like that. I don't have as much to worry about. Plus, we've got chickens. We had a garden, last year or the year before. Was it? No, I think it was early last year. Can't remember. Maybe it was the year before. And we'd make our own breakfast. We grow our own cherry tomatoes and zucchinis and squash. And then we'd grab some eggs and boom, delicious. But you live in these cities in urban decay. You ignore what is happening around you. And this is what happens. So I'll leave you with this thought. A lot of what's happening is not the fault of people who live here. But when I go out, on the weekends or whatever, and I'm talking to regular people, they cannot tell me one thing about what they do to actually make the world a better place. And I think it's an issue of Gen X to a certain degree and some boomers, where they say things like, all politicians are criminals, so why would I bother? And it's like, yeah, I don't completely disagree with you. I think there's a lot of good politicians. Ron Paul was on the show last night. He's amazing. And it's really great to hear from people like him. So I tell you this, the reason they're all criminals is because you have given up, because it was hard. But if all of these people who said, I'm not going to get involved, actually went door to door, knocked on doors and tried, they could fix these problems. Instead, Chicago's captured. Democrat supermajority for 100 years. Illinois has a lot of red areas, but good luck. Chicago's run by the mob. Good luck in Portland. They're deferential to the far left extremists because they're scared of them. And that's what you get when the brown shirts take over. And the media lies, and we all know it. So long as we're seeing things like this, all I can say is get out of cities, have kids, make money, and that is the path towards winning the culture war. No joke. In the meantime, I think it's important that everybody pay attention to what the segment was really about. A prominent leftist who has been radicalized to the point where he was calling for exterminating Republicans. Okay, I hope you're paying attention. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.